It probably started with a spark, an undeniable pull. You met someone, and it felt like your soul just exhaled. That sense of coming home you'd never experienced before. The connection was immediate, so profound, a depth of understanding that didn't even seem to need words. It felt like destiny, didn't it? But now that incredible bond has turned into a source of unbelievable pain, conflict, and confusion. If this sounds familiar, you're truly not alone, and you're not imagining how intense or how hard this struggle is. So, what if that very intensity that pulled you in, that feeling that this person was your actual other half, is the exact reason it's all become so tough? And what if the universe, or maybe your higher self, isn't trying to break you, but to break you? Stick around, because we're going to look into the spiritual reasons why these deep connections, often called twin flame experiences, can be so incredibly hard. And even more importantly, we'll explore what they might be desperately trying to teach you. So many people talk about that instant, almost shocking feeling of recognition when they meet someone special. It's this bond that feels ancient, like you've known them for lifetimes, even if you've literally just met. This isn't just a case of strong attraction. It's often described as this deep, energetic click, a sense of understanding and completion you've never felt before. Now, in a lot of spiritual circles, these connections get called soulmates, or more specifically, twin flames. The whole idea behind twin flames, for example, is that two souls come from the same energetic source. Think of them as two sides of the same original soul. When these two people meet, the recognition is supposedly instant and deeply spiritual, like they're tuned into a unique energetic channel. It's worth saying that this isn't something science has proven, you know? As of 2025, psychology doesn't formally use terms like twin flames or soul ties in a clinical way, and there's no hard evidence that souls actually split or get tied together like that. But that deep, immediate connection, that's something a whole lot of people genuinely experience. This feeling of hitting the spiritual jackpot, of finding someone who just you completely, is intoxicating. It can feel like the ultimate validation, the end of a really long search. But often, this is just the beginning. That incredible initial connection that we are one feeling can quickly turn into a real crucible of challenges. Okay, so if these connections feel so destined, why do they so often become the source of our deepest pain? Well, looking at it from a spiritual angle, the difficulties usually aren't random. They're often seen as a key part of the connection's bigger purpose. Let's explore some common spiritual reasons for these huge challenges. Just remember, these are interpretations from specific belief systems, not facts backed by science. Reason 1, the mirror effect, getting real with yourself. One of the most talked about things with these intense connections is the mirror effect. This person you feel so deeply connected to, they often reflect back not just your good stuff, your light, your beauty, your strengths, but also your deepest wounds, old traumas, fears, and insecurities. It's like they hold up a mirror to the parts of yourself you've kept hidden, even from yourself. This mirroring isn't always a gentle experience. It can be brutally honest, forcing you to face your own shadow side. And while that's incredibly uncomfortable, it's often seen as a powerful nudge for self-awareness and healing. The idea is that anything inside you that's unhealed or unloved gets dragged to the surface by this relationship. Reason 2, the idea of karmic clearing and echoes from the past. Some spiritual philosophies suggest these intense connections are here to help with something called karmic clearing. The thinking here is that souls might carry energetic baggage or unresolved issues, sometimes thought to come from past lives or even ancestral patterns. Again, it's really worth remembering that ideas like past lives and literal karmic debts aren't backed by scientific research. But within these belief systems, it's thought that these deep connections can stir up these old energies, bringing them out into the open so they can be dealt with, understood, and finally released. This might show up as repeating difficult patterns, emotional reactions that feel way out of proportion, or feeling like you're wrestling with really old, deep stuff through the relationship. From this point of view, the challenges are actually chances to break free from old cycles. Reason 3, fast-tracked spiritual growth and letting go of ego. Think of these connections as a kind of spiritual boot camp. The intensity and the challenges, according to some spiritual views, are designed to put your spiritual growth on the fast track. This rapid growth often means a major showdown with the ego, that part of us that's about our sense of self, our defense mechanisms, and how we're conditioned to act. The ego loves control, predictability, and its usual stories. Intense soul connections often throw all of that into chaos, which can make the ego dig its heels in, leading to conflict, power struggles, and a lot of fear. The spiritual take here is that the connection is trying to help you move beyond your ego's limits and connect with a more authentic, soul-deep version of yourself. And yeah, this process of the ego taking a back seat can be painful and really throw you off balance. Reason 4, the runner and chaser dance, a common pattern. You'll often hear about the runner and chaser dynamic when people talk about these intense spiritual connections. It's not an official psychology term, but it's a popular way to describe what happens in these spiritual stories. Usually, one person, the runner, pulls away or creates distance, often because they're overwhelmed by how intense the connection is or the emotions it brings up. The other person, the chaser, then feels this strong urge to pursue, trying to get the connection back or just understand what's going on. It's good to understand that these roles are often seen as reflecting inner wounds. The runner might be running from their own unhealed fears of being swallowed up by the relationship or the pain of facing themselves, while the chaser might be dealing with fears of abandonment or a need to be validated by someone else. This dynamic, as rough as it is often thought to spotlight specific areas that need healing for both people. Reason 5, different healing speeds and divine timing. Challenges can also pop up when the two people in the connection are just on different pages with their healing or spiritual journey. One person might be more tuned into the deeper things happening, while the other might be more resistant or less aware of that underlying spiritual purpose. This mismatch can lead to a lot of frustration, misunderstanding, and conflict. And then there's what many spiritual traditions call divine timing. This idea suggests that even if a connection is incredibly significant, how and when it fully blossoms or reaches a peaceful state might be part of a bigger schedule that's out of our hands. So the difficulties can be seen as part of this timing, making sure both people do the individual growing they need to do before any kind of balanced relationship is possible. This takes a massive amount of patience and letting go of how you think things be. Even though the why it's so hard part can feel totally overwhelming, the spiritual viewpoint always frames these challenges not just as suffering, but as powerful chances for deep learning and change. The pain, as intense as it is often seen as a teacher. Lesson 1. Deep self-love and healing. Maybe the biggest lesson these connections are trying to teach us is the need for deep self-love and inner healing. Because the other person often acts like a mirror for your deepest wounds, the journey kind of forces you to look inward. You can't really love someone else without conditions until you learn to love yourself without conditions. And that includes all the shadowy bits. The relationship pretty much becomes a classroom for finding and healing old traumas, insecurities, and those limiting beliefs you might not have even realized were running your life. Lesson 2. Growing into unconditional acceptance. These connections often shake up our old ideas about what love is and how relationships are supposed to be. They push us towards unconditional acceptance, first for ourselves, flaws and all, and then possibly for the other person, exactly as they are, without needing them to change to fit what we want or expect. Now, this isn't about putting up with bad treatment. It's about letting go of judgment and seeing the basic worth in both yourself and the other person, no matter how the relationship looks or where it ends up. Lesson 3. Finding your own wholeness. So many of us go into relationships, whether we realize it or not, looking for someone to complete us. Intense soul connections often come along and shatter that illusion. The challenges frequently lead to time apart or deep soul-searching wanks, pushing you to find wholeness right your way, not in someone else. From this angle, the main goal isn't always about ending up in a perfect union with the other person, but about you becoming a whole, complete individual on your own. Lesson 4. Patience, trust, and letting go. The sheer intensity and unpredictability of these connections, they're like a masterclass in patience, trust, and surrender. You learn pretty quickly that you can't control the other person, the way things are going, or how it all turns out. This can be incredibly frustrating for the ego, which, let's be honest, loves to be in charge. The lesson here is to trust the journey, trust your own gut feelings, and let go of needing things to happen in a certain way or on your preferred schedule. It's about having faith in a bigger picture, even when it makes zero logical sense. Lesson 5. Seeing connection and purpose in a new light. These relationships often make us rethink what connection even means. Sometimes the whole point of such a deep bond isn't to end up in a typical, lifelong romantic partnership. Its main job might be to wake you up, kickstart your growth, show you what needs healing inside you, and then maybe for your paths to go in different directions, with both of you changed for good and on a new path of self-discovery. The connection did its powerful, transformative job. So, how on earth do you get through this incredibly challenging territory? Every journey is different, of course, but a few guiding principles can really help. First up, make your inner work a priority. I really can't stress this enough. What's happening in the external relationship is often just a mirror of what's going on inside you. So, get into practices that help you heal, whether that's therapy, journaling, meditation, energy work, or anything else that helps you understand and soothe your emotional wounds and limiting beliefs. And remember, a lot of intense emotional stuff can actually be part of an inner clean-out during spiritual growth. Second, if you are interacting, aim for conscious communication. This means speaking your truth, but with kindness and honesty, and also really listening with an open heart. But, and this is a big but, it also means setting healthy boundaries to look after your own emotional well-being. It is absolutely okay to take a step back from interactions that are always draining you or feel harmful. Third, ground yourself. Seriously, the intensity of these connections can knock you off your feet, leading to obsession or just feeling totally lost. Get out in nature, get some exercise, stick to your routines, and connect with supportive friends or family. People who might not be in the thick of this specific dynamic, but can offer some steady support. It's also super helpful to look at what psychology says about all this. While spiritual ideas offer one way of looking at it, psychology points out that intense connections can sometimes be explained by things like the similarity attraction effect. We're drawn to people like us. Or even limerence, which is like an obsessive infatuation. Understanding your attachment style and how your past experiences shape your relationship patterns can also be a game changer. Some research shows that people with insecure attachment styles might feel more pain and distress in relationships. It's good to remember that no single viewpoint has all the answers, and mixing different perspectives can give you a much fuller picture. Studies also show that really unhealthy, intense relationship dynamics can sometimes be linked to things like adolescent relationship abuse, especially if there are already emotional health issues or exposure to violence. So, knowing yourself and reaching out for support are absolutely key. And finally, practice self-compassion. This journey is tough. There will be moments of confusion, pain, and huge learning curves. Be kind to yourself through all of it. If any of this is hitting home for you, if you've been through one of these intense and challenging connections, I'd love to hear about it. Please share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Respectfully, of course. What lessons have you picked up along the way? What's helped you deal with the intensity? And hey, if you found this helpful, please give the video a like and hit subscribe for more on spiritual growth and living consciously. Intense soul connections, whatever you choose to call them, are undeniably powerful. There's no doubt about it. They can feel like a full-on cosmic collision, bringing both incredible joy and really agonizing challenges. And while those spiritual ideas we talked about, the mirror effect, karmic clearing, supercharged growth, don't have scientific proof as literal facts, of these deep, often painful, yet life-changing relationships is incredibly real for so many people. That immense difficulty? It's often a big sign pointing towards just as much potential for healing and spiritual growth. These connections aren't here to break you. They're here to break open your heart, to make you face your deepest self, and to guide you toward becoming the more authentic and whole person you're truly meant to be. The path can be unbelievably hard, no question. But the growth, the self-awareness, and the deep love you find for yourself during it all, those are the real treasures of this journey.